that can permanently reduce your retirement income. Fortunately, there are affordable and flexible options available today that can help you manage the cost of long-term care. Our team can help you address the risks relevant to your retirement, including long-term care. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by STL Fenceworks, celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Oh, give me land, lots of land, and the starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please. Don't fence me in. Don't fence me in. Just turn me loose, let me straddle my own saddle underneath the western skies. On my cayuse, let me wander over yonder till I see the mountains rise. I want to ride to the ridge where the west commences. Gaze at the moon until I lose my senses. I can't look at hobbles and I can't stand fences. Don't fence me in. Don't fence me in.
Well, happy Monday and happy New Year to all of you and yours. And what a what a new year it's starting out to be. I think the funniest part of all this is that President Trump was not going to let anybody have a weekend. It was just going to be balls to the wall, a Saturday where every single TV station, network, newspaper, everything else had to have a big call to arms, so nobody had a weekend. That's the way President Trump likes to do it. I will have to tell you, though, that there were apparently some news organizations that knew about this and didn't leak it, which is incredible. Apparently, the New York Times and the Washington Post both were made aware of this mission to get Maduro, and they didn't leak it, which is pretty incredible. Marco Rubio did, in fact, even give them a shout-out for it. My question is, who the hell leaked it to those newspapers? Because that could be really disastrous. And there's also this element. I think some people might be missing the other part of this equation that actually may have been even more important, and that is grabbing Maduro's wife, who quite possibly may be even worse than he is. And a lot of people don't know about her. They just think she was grabbed out of bed, and there she is walking in her pajamas, all sullen-faced and everything else. But, man, I'll tell you what, Celia Maduro was and is a witch to the 10th degree. She basically ran the show. Maduro was just some big oaf, basically, who was a titular head of the Venezuelan government and, of course, a narco-terror drug dealer. But his wife was the one who ran the show, did everything behind the scenes in terms of threatening people, everything else. Both of them kind of met while they were in the General Assembly under Chavez and had an affair and all this kind of stuff, wound up getting married. but she's probably worse than Maduro and a bigger get than even he is because of the way she helped run that country into the ground, the way that she commandeered the threats against enemies and beyond. She was kind of like the dark, deep state of Venezuela. So whenever you see her kind of shuffling around like she's some poor old maid, just know that she quite possibly was maybe even a more important get than Maduro, as far as I'm concerned, once you start reading more about her. Meantime, before I get to one of our local rock stars to talk about all this, Senator Jim Talent, I want to let you know, man, was this Rubio's weekend or what? Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, just amazing on all levels. And in fact, I was saying earlier that I think maybe, Jim Talent always talks about the solidity of messaging and things like that. And I would have been okay just hearing Rubio talk all weekend and President Trump kind of taking a back seat because President Trump tended to kind of talk extemporaneously about grabbing oil and about Cuba and all this kind of stuff. I'm kind of like, dude, just don't talk too much. Just kind of keep the discipline of the messaging in the event going. It continued on today as Rubio was on fire again, this time basically telling the UN to go you-know-what itself.
You're wrong in your question. Number one, Venezuela is a major source, and the reason why is the following. And I've seen a lot of this reporting, and it's fake reporting, and I'll tell you why. It says that somehow Venezuela is not involved in the drug trade because the UN says they're not involved in the UN. I don't care what the UN says. The UN doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, Maduro. Exactly. It's about time. And then Mike Waltz went before the UN Security Council and said similar things. So let's get right to Senator Jim Talent. I know it was a really interesting weekend for you. I mean, hard to kind of keep up with all the different prongs of this story. First of all, you have all the left-wing commies who organized the marches all throughout the country. None of them were real people necessarily, all just paid protesters. Then you had the Democrats who, I remember seeing a meme over the weekend, Jimmy, where it was President Trump dressed as a magician and then said, and now for my next trick, I'm going to have the Democrats defend Maduro. So it was really an interesting weekend. I've been dying to hear what your take is on this. Good afternoon, my friend.
And good afternoon to you too, Jamie. Well, it was a brilliant tactical stroke that has improved our position, and how much, in other words, how big a victory this turns out to be, remains to be seen a little bit. But my thinking about this is, as I watch these interviews, and I can just tell how frustrated Marco Rubio is. I mean, I served with him. I know Marco. He's the foremost among, electeds, among politicals, which he is, even though he's in an appointed position now. He's the biggest and most thorough expert on Latin America that we've got, and it's not an accident that he is fronting this for the administration, not a presidential envoy like a Witkoff or something. When the president picks the people appropriate for particular tasks, this is not primarily about how terrible Maduro is, although he's terrible. This is certainly not about oil, although if we get the kind of victory we can get, there's going to be major investments, American investments in Venezuela. We can recover, the losses that Maduro stole from us, and this will be to the benefit of both the United States and Venezuela. I mean, energy is really important. It's not about that. It's about two things. One of it's our effort to interdict and stop the direct threat of narco-terrorism. And I define that, Jamie, and I think this is a good working definition, as networks of supersized criminal gangs, irregular but powerful armed forces, and they operate with a collusion of sovereign states to weaponize the narcotics trade for the purpose of undermining and damaging the United States. It is a tool of statecraft against us, okay? And it has risen from a nuisance 15 years ago to a problem to now it is a major threat. to the underbelly of the United States, not to mention, of course, the hundreds of thousands of American kids who are killed because of it. And the administration is right to have identified it as a major threat and to be moving aggressively to stop it, and Venezuela is a key to that. The other thing, even more broadly, we are securing our strategic perimeters. In other words, we are protecting ourselves against penetration of our hemisphere by our adversaries. So you remember what we did with the Panama Canal?
Yeah.
The first things Trump did was we reasserted control over the canal because the Chinese were extending control. And the Chinese operate with complete license in Venezuela. So do the Cubans. So do the Russians. So do the Iranians. And anybody who read the national security strategy should not be surprised. It's, of course, we are protecting ourselves from this threat to the south. It's part of an integrated policy. Jamie, one thing that's frustrating to me, it's been so long since we've had a real foreign policy that even well-meaning people don't have a framework to think about these things. So they default to either we like President Trump, which I do, or we don't like President Trump, or is it legal?
Yeah. Yeah.
These are all pointless discussions. I mean, this is a very purposeful operation of a policy designed to protect the United States from a major threat.
Well, and I will just to interject here real quickly, though. It was very interesting because you talked about the hemisphere, and I thought that was a really interesting and maybe even somewhat unnoticed comment that Marco Rubio made about the fact that basically we own the Western Hemisphere, and nobody else is going to own it and take control of it. We basically own and operate the Western Hemisphere, and it'll be that way forever, hopefully.
And there's a reason for it. It's not just chauvinism, okay? It's because it is closer to us and therefore could be a major threat. Now, let's suppose, for example, there's a crisis in the Indo-Pacific, which I think the United States is definitely trying to, a kinetic conflict.
And what's the Indo-Pacific again?
The Indo-Pacific, it's the Indian Ocean and the East and South China Sea.
Okay, gotcha.
So
yeah.
It's East Asia, basically, which is the hottest part of the world, the biggest threat to us because the Chinese are the most powerful. Well, what the Chinese want is outposts in the Western Hemisphere. So if there is a kinetic standoff, if there's a standoff or, God forbid, an actual conflict, they will activate these assets in Latin and South America to attack us, to interrupt the movement of our armed forces. I mean, there's all kinds of things they can do with this. And so what we are doing is that's the reason it goes back to the Monroe Doctrine. No, our adversaries cannot have outposts in situations where they could threaten us. It's why, the Soviet influence in Cuba was and is, or the Soviets are gone now, but why it was considered to be such a danger in 1960. Right?
Yeah.
It's been so long since we've had an administration, really since H.W. Bush. There's no accident that Bush did a similar thing in Panama, and for similar reasons. We have a president who has an understanding of the world, who cares about the country, and who's protecting us against threats. Now, a tertiary, a secondary goal here is, and this is the priority the president's chosen. He's always looking for economic opportunity for the United States. Venezuela ought to be a first world country, a great trading partner, a support for our own energy security. But this is mostly about narco-terrorism and cutting off influence of Iran and Russia and China in our hemisphere. And of course, that's how they saw it. I mean, I guarantee you, this was a very bad weekend for Beijing.
Oh,
they
yeah.
Thought they thought they had a client state here, and now it's in danger.
Well, some of them were there. I thought that some of the Chinese were actually in Venezuela when this happened after meeting with Maduro. They were still there.
Yeah, from a great power perspective, it's the same reason, and this is I'm going to address this without, not in morally neutral terms, although it's not that way. But I mean, same reason why the Chinese are so worried about us being in South Korea. It's right on their border. We have troops there. Same reason why they would like to expel us from the East and South China Sea. This is what great powers do. They protect. This is border security writ large. And by the way, it has to do with that because these agents can trigger migrant crises. And there's been one as Venezuelans. I mean, 7 million people have left the country now. Most of them have not come to the United States. And this is a major national security threat. So, yes, it was a brilliant tactical move. Now, as the administration has said, what happens, how big a success it turns out to be depends on what we can do now there. What we want is a government that will play ball with us and that is reasonably competent in stabilizing and governing the country. And the administration is saying, that could well include elements of the Maduro regime. Because the goal here is not primarily to get a democracy in Venezuela, although the Venezuelan people love this. This is not giving them a chance for that. The goal is to protect the United States. It's an America first foreign policy.
Well, and it's
obviously a very effective one. And by the way, I should not go any further without paying homage to the competency, professionalism, and courage of America's armed forces. This showed the Chinese something, because I'll tell you, as powerful as they are, they couldn't have done this.
I was just going to ask you, because based on your knowledge of the defense apparatus and the War Department and beyond, I don't think people. Well, I think people do. I think most people do. But I'm telling you, if the more you think about what was pulled off here, the more impossible it becomes. That not. Well, I think there was one American injured or something. It was maybe a dented plane or something, but that was about it. I mean, I just can't believe they basically landed on a military base because that's where Maduro was living. I mean, it's just shocking to me, and beautifully so, really.
And you see the coherence here of the administration's national security approach. Do you understand now why Pete Hegseth has been going crazy saying, look, we have got to emphasize merit, excellence, esprit de corps, accomplishment of the mission, lethality. I mean, because we have to be able to pull off missions like this. And we can't do it if we have a Department of Defense that is more interested in the transgender agenda, right? Or is hiring or promoting based on things other than ability and merit. And this is why Hegseth called these flag officers and generals together and said, you guys got to get going here. The American people are in danger, and we are the first line of defense, and there are things we have to do. And I think that contributed to the success of this, yes. What the Chinese can't do that we can do is the joint application, is they call it jointness. All elements of the force, intelligence, special ops, naval, all of this operating together. I mean, the kind of training and planning it takes to do this is really, there aren't many armed forces that can. We can do it. The Israelis can do it. And it's a big question for the Chinese. They got the power, they got the missiles, they got the planes, they got all that. They got the technology, but can they make it work? And by the way, a little side note here, it was wonderful to see how ineffective the Russian anti-air systems were here. I mean, they didn't even know what was happening to them.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And I think the Russians gave them like billions in armaments that are now liquefied. So that's crazy.
The S-300 systems and all of that.
Yeah.
So the issue now is, and this is statecraft here, what we're saying to this vice president is, look, you want to play ball with us? Now, we're not going to run this whole thing with Maduro 2.0, but, you guys can have a role in this and a place in this, but we want the drug trade stopped. We want the illegal oil shipments stopped. In other words, the things that are vital to the United States. You don't play ball, we'll get people who play ball.
Yeah.
And this is now up to Rubio and obviously the president to negotiate this. It's not going to be easy. But, yeah, this is a major game changer. And they looked at this in Moscow. They looked at this in Tehran, and they're saying It's another evidence that the Americans are back. And another side benefit is what has Trump been saying? He's offered negotiations to them. I'm going on too long.
No.
This is classic Trump.
Oh no, yeah, and I want to hold you over if you don't mind, if you have time, because there's so much I want to cover with you. But it's almost amazing that this was kept as much of a secret as it was, which means even though obviously the Washington Post and the New York Times apparently had it leaked to them by somebody, but that's just how cohesive and tight the military is, apparently, and certainly great evidence that none of them listened to the seditious six. So Mark Kelly got.
Yeah, I think that's a good news story out of journalism.
Yeah,
which is a little surprising. I mean, I'll tell you, somebody else who's watching this carefully is the Mexicans.
Yeah,
because they're involved in this narco-terrorism too. And President has been saying, you're going to have to get serious. Now, I'm not saying we're going to do this in Mexico, but what they're all seeing now is Trump is serious. And if you're or the Nicaraguans, if you're one of these people, you're saying to yourself, maybe I better start dealing with the Americans.
Yeah. I noticed Colombia.
Yeah.
I noticed Colombia is shoring up their borders as we speak. So I want to ask you a little bit more about that and about what's going on here and what are the limitations in terms of what we can and cannot do or should not do. So I want to tap into the brilliance of Jim Talent on the other side of this. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here and Ashton right there, and we'll continue on this glorious Monday, the brand new Monday of 2026.
Is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to announce a brand new sponsor of the Allman Report, and he's an old friend of mine, a great guy, and the owner of Benchmark Auto Repair in Valley Park. He is really great at what he does. He has just expanded the number of bays. It's right there at 7 Vance Road, but you can go to benchmarkautorepair.com. I'm having to take 2 of the family cars there. I'll be doing that this week. There's a check engine light on one of them, and the other one has in need of an oil change, all this kind of stuff. So it doesn't matter whether that's a big job or a small job or whatever, Gene Bentrip and his really well-qualified team will be there to help you. And they've been family-owned and operated for more than 25 years and are a certified Napa Auto Care Center. So it's worth the trip wherever you happen to be. And by the way, everything is only about 15 or 20 minutes away, whether you're living in Defiance or downtown, whatever it happens to be. The beautiful Benchmark Auto Repair is easily accessible to you, 44 and 270. You mentioned me, you mentioned my name and News Talk STL, whatever, and you'll get a 10% discount on all your repairs, and 10% goes a long way sometimes on some of the repairs that you might have to do. They also offer a 12-month or 12,000-mile warranty on qualified repairs. There are hardly anybody who offers a warranty on qualified repairs. So, you get some engine work done, you get something done on the transmission, whatever. To get that kind of a warranty is really a message of confidence in how great these mechanics are at Benchmark Auto Repair. BenchmarkAutorepair.com right there in beautiful Valley Park. Thank you, Gene and the team, for supporting free, common-sense, conservative radio. BenchmarkAutorepair.com. Mention my name and News Talk STL for a 10% discount on all qualified repairs.
2026, a great time to visit Lit Cigar Lounge. The Lit Cigar Facebook has numerous events from tastings to music. My main reason for going to Lit is always quality cigars, premium whiskeys. Odds are we'll see each other at Lit Cigar Lounge. A few doors down, Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta. Get a pizza baked over coals. Excellent crust and flavor. Or choose one of the many great pasta dishes. You won't leave hungry. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta and Lit Cigar Lounge in the Chesterfield Valley.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
So we're coming to the end of another year, another trip around the sun. Did 2025 deliver everything we expected? I recall one year in New Orleans, I got a lady to read my palm about what I would see in the coming year. The first thing she did, take the $20 from my palm. There was a sign. In the new year, I would lose money or give it away or be swindled out of it. Bottom line, I had my $20 and then I didn't. What I did get in return, a bunch of mumbo-jumbo of what I could expect in the new year. I would find love. I would be famous. I would be rich. I'm thinking I'd love to have my $20 back. There are those who believe in palm readers and such. Sorry, I'm just not in that category. I do read cards at the poker table, and of course I try to read what the other players have. I can guess, I can bet what they might do next, but I can't really confirm. If they call my bet or raise my bet, that's supposed to give me information. But then again, trust me, you don't want to trust poker players. I bet again, they call again. So could a fortune teller decide for a fact if I'm beat? If the fortune teller sticks around long enough to see me leave the table, my head down, they will probably predict I lost, as if I need a fortune teller at that point. I'd just like to have my $20 back.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
I think you're a little confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
101.9 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. News Talk STL.
News Talk STL.
Came back with this because I forgot what an awesome song this is. My boys at ZZ Top. We lost one of them last year, but ladies and gentlemen, this is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. And the great Senator Jim Talent is staying over to wow us with his brilliance on the Venezuela issue and the geopolitical future and beyond. I do want to say, hope you had a great New Year, Jimmy. I know, I'm sure you, on New Year's Eve, you had a lampshade on your head. You were doing all that kind of stuff. And I will have you know that one of the things, I know it was Christmas, but one of the things I gifted myself for the new year was a brand new trumpet, and it's blue. Oh. And I've decided I'm going to, and I'll bring it in the studio here tomorrow, you guys. I forgot that. But it's blue, and I've just started trying to learn how to play it. Just to even blow into it is something you have to learn. And so I'm dedicating myself to learning how to play the trumpet and the piano in 2026. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Take care of your lips and your fingers, my friend.
I will. I know. I mean, it's...
You need it. I don't want to bust a lip trying to play the trumpet. No, I had a good holiday, although I had to travel. It's unusual. I had an unusual business travel that I had to do on December 29th, and I was really going to come back and enjoy last week. And I got back in town, had a nice dinner with Brenda, and then got sick. And I was in bed with the flu for about 3 or 4 days. So I did get a lot of rest, but I'm coming out of it now, and just in time for this to happen over the weekend. And
yeah,
that was yeah.
Well, you sound great. I was just telling people last week I had a person, a nurse who I was talking to, and she was like, "You need to get the flu shot because the flu is going to be wicked this year." So thankfully, you're all right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I got over it, but I kind of wish I'd taken that advice myself. But these things sneak up on me. You know, you get in the fall and you think about doing it, and I don't always get a flu shot, and
I don't either.
They're not always effective. I mean, but I'm not a young sprite anymore. So in future, I'm gonna. Yeah. You know, they call influenza the old man's friend, sarcastically. I mean, if it gets ahead of you, and you know, you're a little frail, it can be a real problem. So I would. Yeah. It's thing I'd advise your listeners to consider doing.
All right, so let's talk about what I like this word, the Donroe Doctrine. So these guys have some fun. I don't know where exactly that came from. I wouldn't be surprised if it came from the White House because they were having a little fun with this all over. But, I mean, you've got what looks like a recalibration of the entire Western Hemisphere. Of course, you took it further to say, well, watch out because China, Russia, and all these, Iran, these guys are all kind of on notice, too. So it's a recalibration, I guess, of the world, it seems, as Colombia braces itself for the possibility of some similar invasion, although I don't really think that's going to happen, but who knows?
Well, I mean, and this is a difference, again, when we did get active in the post-Reagan H.W. Bush years, we did it by using the armed forces as the go-to contingency. We would wait till threats got real bad and then have to send in the troops and get in these long. That's not Trump's policy. It's the tool of hard power is a tool, but it's only one of many that he uses. So he uses the diplomatic tool, the economic tool, and when he uses the military tool, it's to get targeted leverage. So or to take care of a particular problem, like destroying the Iranian nuclear program. Well, that put that to bed, right? Now, I don't expect to see similar operations, certainly right away, in others of these countries. It's a fascinating subject to watch it. And again, I say part of the difficulty for people is it's been so long since we've seen a purposeful and well conducted foreign policy that people can't recognize it. But one of the things Trump does, the Russians call this preparing the information environment. In other words, he starts shaping the message, and usually it'll be several months of, on the one hand, offers to negotiate with our adversaries on our terms. So he did this with the Iranians. He's doing it with Hamas now. He's doing it with Putin. On the other hand, the threats if they don't, right? And then he carries out the threat in some specific, highly visible and very powerful way. And so then all the other adversaries go, well, when he says something, we got to listen. And that, of course, reinforces the efficacy of the threats in the future. See how that works?
Yeah.
And so, so you don't have to use the military as much because people know you're willing to do it and you're able to do it when you need to. So here they're going to focus now diplomatically. And it's not easy. And it may not be. I think it'll be at least reasonably successful. Even if it isn't, we're still going to be better off. But it's going to be difficult because we're not going to occupy Venezuela. I've said this on the show. I mean, I never thought that was going to happen. We're going to use our leverage points, our tools, to get partners or people willing to play ball with us in country and to put together some kind of a transitional. Well, the president's been clear about, we're going to have a transitional government. We want the country governed. We want stability. You can just see, again, if you look at this globally, we're trying to stabilize Eastern Europe at the same time as we're getting the Europeans to try and take over responsibility, for security there. We're stabilizing the Middle East. That's easier because we have an ally there that is powerful and effective. And now we're trying to secure where we've also been securing our southern border, and all this will free up attention, resources, and effort to deal with the really difficult problem that will not be solved in the Trump administration, which is the competition or conflict with China. And so, it's a global approach to managing risks around the world, always with a view towards what's the security, what are the interests of the American people. That's what we're trying to accomplish. It is America first in operation.
Yeah. So, I know that there are, sometimes in the absence of information, I think the news media, which tends to be pretty vacuous anyway, will just make up a story. And one of the made-up stories I saw this morning was that President Trump did not choose to replace the government with Machado, the opposition leader, because he was mad at her for winning the Nobel Peace Prize. And, of course, that's stupid and foolish. And I think that, but interestingly enough, I know that you probably know that the part of the plan, because they long-term plan this aside from the short-term plan of grabbing Maduro and his wife, but they long-term plan this, and I was hearing that a little bit in some of your commentary, to keep some of these same people who were in Maduro's regime there, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah, because right now, if there was somebody, an opposition leader, who was capable of taking over, controlling the security apparatus and the army so that they could actually govern, well, that's the first place, clearly, that the president and Rubio would go, because they would be a much more reliable partner and ally. They know they can't trust Maduro's people, but we don't have anybody like that. I mean, that's obviously the judgment they've made. Now, I am not an expert, Jamie, on the different factions, in Venezuela. Okay, I mean, that you got to be a real in-country expert to know that sort of thing. But I think it's to me, it's common sense and pretty obvious that you're going to need some of these people who are part of Maduro's coalition to be willing to play ball with us.
Yeah.
But again, it will be on condition that they respect what we have said are our priority interests, which is the drug trade, and not letting, getting rid of these foreigners. And I don't know how that's going to work out. I mean, that would be the good questions to ask Rubio.
Yeah.
I mean, there's intelligent questions to ask him. If you could do a long form interview, if you were doing it, if you read up on it, and I can think of interviewers who can do it and probably will, and ask some good questions. It's not going to be easy. And
since you know him, you can just let him know, give him my phone number.
And just say, why don't you have Jamie Allman do it?
Yeah, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State on the Allman Report. It'd be perfect for him.
It will give you the whatever intro music you want, probably.
Right.
I could say, Marco, it's like a ball player getting up to hit, right? What's your What's your intro music?
Well, these guys left over.
I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to him and to all the other interviews very carefully.
Yeah,
they're not hiding what they're doing.
No.
They've been very clear about this for some time, that this is a threat, and we're going to deal with it. And it's interesting because, again, the critics, they don't understand it. They don't even understand it well enough to criticize them effectively. You notice they said, well, you can't just attack the drug boats, right? That's illegal. Well, you can't. And then they say, okay, well, we will seize the oil tankers, and we'll impound them. Well, no, you can't do that either. That's illegal. Oh, okay. Well, then we'll get Maduro because he's been indicted, and we'll take him back to New York. No, you can't do that either, right? It's like, no, there is no effective policy that you're legally allowed to follow, and all of that is just fantasy. I mean, it's fully within his authority, to do this. He'd be defaulting on his duty if he didn't.
Yeah. Well, and those guys who were left over, obviously, they're kind of on a landmine that only blows up when you step off of it. They're kind of they've got basically a virtual gun trained on them right now, and they know it. Which is also why it was the importance of grabbing Maduro's wife too, which I said off the top of the show, because she was an integral part of Maduro's treachery, aside from being indicted herself. But you had to get her out of there as well, because if she were left over, it would be useless just to have Maduro, because she was just as bad.
He puts yourself in their position, and of course the administration knows this. So they thought they had these great air defenses, which turned out to be a complete zero. They know now they've been compromised from an intelligence standpoint. That we have a lot of assets in that government, so they're looking at each other now. So wait a minute, you working for the CIA? What about you? And this is all designed to backfoot them, to make them uncertain, and to increase the incentives that they have to deal with us in some way. And listen, the fact that Trump is willing to deal with adversaries and some pretty unsavory characters gives him options in these situations that you wouldn't have if you had people who said, well, there's just no way we're ever going to deal with anybody from Maduro's regime. So now they have no choice but to oppose you, right?
Yeah.
So this is, and it's all of a piece. It is a purposeful, coherent foreign policy. Now, it doesn't mean you can't pick at this or that or the other thing. And I've said on the show, I think the president made certain miscalculations regarding Putin, but this is so far above everything, what his predecessors were doing. It's not even on the same plane, And I'm thrilled that we actually have a foreign policy. We're using our power to protect our people, and we're doing it in an intelligent way.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be more pleased. I mean, in a way, I wish I was still in office because I would pick up the phone and call Marco and just say, "You guys just did great." I mean, that was just, and I'm sure that
Call
Eric
Jamie
Schmidt is
Allman.
doing that. And yeah. You need to do me a favor. Call Jamie.
Yeah. First thing you need to do
I'm
is
sure
call
that Senator Schmidt and others are, they're doing that. They're telling them you're doing a good job. And
yeah. Well, that's great. What's interesting too, and a lot of this was really surreal. Did you see the image of the helicopter carrying Maduro and his wife as it flew to Brooklyn? And I guess technically that's the only path to take. But still, they went from the base to the jail in Brooklyn, and they flew right by the Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure maybe that's the path anyway, but still, it was really surreal watching and imagining what they were looking at out the window. If they were, they'd be seeing the Statue of Liberty in America, and another signal of our strength. What of who we are.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing, and then I probably ought to go, my friend. I've got some other things I got to do, but because you mentioned the Don Roe doctrine.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think the president gets a kick out of that sort of thing. There's no question. I mean, I think personally, so all you got to do is read his posts, right? There's a reason for this, though. It's the great man theory of politics. In other words, the more visibly, if you're the leader of a country, you put yourself personally at the center of events, the more you are putting your country and its influence at the center of events. You want people around the world saying, what is it I need to do so that Donald Trump's going to like me?
Yeah.
Because what Donald Trump's going to want you to do is the things that he wants to benefit the United States. And all these leaders around the world, friend and foe alike. When he went to Asia and he met with the new Japanese prime minister, and she was with him on the aircraft carrier. I mean, that was gold for her.
Yeah.
She was a friend of Donald Trump's, right? Netanyahu. And these are sophisticated leaders. I mean, Netanyahu is, going to go down as one of the great leaders of the first quarter of this century. But Trump's putting himself at the center of events, and that maximizes our influence. And he understands that, see?
Yeah. Well, and, you notice, too, as it relates to what the kinds of things President Trump does is, boy, nobody is seemingly a better bluff caller in recent history than President Trump. I mean, I'm sure Maduro didn't really think we were going to do anything, even as we had assets sitting out in the ocean. Once we saw the fifth video of Maduro dancing, I'm sure President Trump was like, all right, let's do this.
Well, what this tells you, Jamie, if you want to look at this internally, is that, okay, we have this broad-based objective here. We're going to stop the narco-terrorism. We're going to get rid of this foreign influence. And what that tells you is that the administration has, through what they call an interagency process, this is state, defense, the intel community, they have worked up options for the president. And there's a whole process you go through. Andy Baker at the National Security. Andy Baker is effectively the National Security Advisor. I mean, Marco is technically. It's like Marco's going to end up with every job in the administration.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's really being run by Andy Baker, who's Vance's guy. So he's worked all this up with input from Hegseth, from the DepSecs, from all of them. And the president chooses options, and this is the one he chose. And they trained for it. They were prepared. It's a contrast this with how Biden's team did Afghanistan. Contrast that for a second.
Yeah, that's easy.
I mean, and then you think that these people think they're the adults in the room. They're the ones. I mean, Jamie, you could have picked somebody off the street, one of your listeners, and they're all intelligent people, of course. You could have given them an afternoon's briefing on Afghanistan, and they'd have done that so much better than these boobs did it for Biden. And there were no accountability. None.
Yeah. And the only thing that would make this whole affair cooler is if President Trump and his team demanded that they collect the reward money that was offered by the Biden administration to pay for the ballroom.
Give it. Except we don't do that, but he could give it to the men and women who carried out that.
Exactly.
We don't.
I know.
We don't pay bounties to the armed forces.
Right.
We don't do that.
Well, he can collect it and distribute it. Then that's fine.
Give it to their charities that the department, the various veterans charities.
Yeah. I mean, it's $50 million, right? Wasn't it 25, and then Biden upped it to 50?
The Wounded Warriors. That would be great to give it to them.
Yeah, he ought to collect. I'm sure that's just the next. Thing
he doesn't care about Nobel.
Know.
The reason I like to see him get the Nobel Peace Prize is I'd love to hear the speech he gave when they gave it to him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he'd go, he'd collect it. And that speech would be must-see TV.
Yeah. No question about it. Well, Jimmy Talent, thank you for being the first guest of the brand new year and obviously illuminating as always. And so glad your recovery is going well. And we'll talk to you again later. Thanks for everything.
You're welcome. I'll just cough my way into the afternoon. But all the best and the best of the new year to you, Jamie.
All right.
The show's doing great, and to all your listeners.
Loving it. Thank you. And then just let Marco know I'm here.
Next time I talk to him, Jamie Allman will be the first thing I say.
Yes, sir. You've got my number. So, all right, buddy.
Okay.
I'll see you. Marco and I would get along famously. So, as the left and the Democrats go nutsoid over this whole thing, I haven't paid attention to one notorious St. Louis left-wing kook's Twitter page. I haven't bothered, and I'm not on Twitter, so maybe some of you have. And I'm predicting he's in a tizzy over all of this, too, but I got a story to tell you that will add a little texture to him being upset. I'm assuming he's mad about this, but we'll just I'm going to still tell you the story assuming he's joining the rest of the left-wing crazies out there. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Yes, I just want you to know what a breath of fresh air you people are.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Well, Schneider's True Value Hardware right there in Old Town St. Peter's has been there for more than 100 years. I mean, do you know any hardware store anywhere that has been in one place for more than 100 years? Well, Schneider's has. And Jerry Schneider and the team, it's family-owned, family-operated, and a great staff there. Charlie is not a relative, but he's kind of one of the gang there, and he's got expertise on all things big and small around your house or around your yard or whatever it happens to be. And, man, who knows? We might have kind of a shorter winter than we thought we'd have, and so go ahead, get a hold of the Steel Yard products. These are really great. These are the battery-operated ones. You know, you charge the battery, put them on there. But the Steel product, STIHL, is really a brand-new frontier in these battery-operated, non-plug-in, non-gasoline types of yard tools and things like that. They're really good. all the rage, made very well. But just in case something goes haywire, Schneider's is not only a dealer, but they also do repairs and parts, all that kind of stuff for you on the steel products. So you go in there and you get that down-home legacy type of hardware store filled with people who support free, common sense, conservative radio. I'm super proud to have the Schneider's name associated with the Allman Report and News Talk St. Louis, and they are committed. And Old Town St. Peter's, they've been committed for 100 years, so we'll see. They'll be committed to the Allman Report for the next 100 years. Who knows, people? All I'm saying is for all of your everything from scoop to nuts, I'll steal that from Central Hardware because that's really the story that I'm trying to tell about Schneider's is that you need something, anything, you've got it. You need assistance or guidance with whatever it is you're doing, you've got it at Schneider's True Value Hardware. Just check it out at truevalue.com/Schneider's, truevalue.com/Schneider's.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
Make your holiday special with Anthony's Produce, serving our community for over 28 years. Order fresh fruit and vegetable trays for work parties, family gatherings, and celebrations. Send chocolate-covered strawberries or a stunning fruit bouquet to someone you love. Plus, get seasoned firewood for pickup or delivery to keep your home cozy all winter long. Open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Order online at anthonysproduce.com or call 636-936-0496 on Jungerman Road in St. Peters.
Colombo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Good afternoon. Maduro and his witchy wife have both pleaded not guilty. So we'll follow up on that. And British Parliament is discussing Venezuela. And guess what? Nobody cares. So there we go. We do care what War Secretary Pete Hegseth has to say, and they are waiting to hear from him at an event. And if he does speak, we'll at least bring a portion of that live to you so you can hear what the Secretary of War has to say about what has happened over the weekend. This is, and I'll give you the story about your local left-wing personality who has no room to complain about the snatching and recovery of Maduro and his wife. So we'll follow up on that. It's a fun story. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
Hi, this is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the region's largest RE/MAX real estate brokerage. It is cold outside, but the real estate market is hot. This is a great time to buy or sell a home. Interest rates are also declining, which gives you more buying power. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me at 314-852-8933 for a free custom home buying plan. 314-852-8933.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. A big announcement from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz today. He says he has decided to end his re-election campaign after weekend consultations confronting his state's fraud scandal.
As I reflect on this moment with my family and my team over the holidays, I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences.
Deposed Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro has declared himself to be innocent. He pleaded not guilty to federal drug trafficking charges today in a New York courtroom, telling the judge, quote, "I am not guilty. I am a decent man." Shares of major U.S. companies in the energy sector are sharply higher after President Trump announced plans to take control of Venezuela's struggling oil industry after the capture of Maduro. President Trump vowing to revitalize oil production there. The solution, he says, is the return of U.S. oil companies who were kicked out of the country by Hugo Chavez.
We're going to have the big oil companies go in, and they're going to fix the infrastructure, and they're going to invest money. We're not going to invest anything.
The president says they will try to help the Venezuelan people. Defense Secretary Hegseth censoring Democratic Senator Mark Kelly.
In November, Kelly joined 5 other lawmakers in a video that called on troops to uphold the Constitution and not follow illegal orders. Defense Secretary Hegseth said the censure was a necessary step toward proceedings that could result in a demotion from Kelly's retired rank of captain. Kelly responded by calling the move outrageous and wrong. The senator said it sends the message to every single retired service member that if they say something Hegseth or Donald Trump doesn't like, they will come after them the same way. Greg Clugston, Washington.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
It's Mike Gallagher wishing you a Happy New Year. If you're like most people, this is the week you look at your budget and think, all right, time to get things under control. Here's one of the smartest ways to start 2026. Call my friends at Fellowship Home Loans. They can help lower your monthly mortgage payment. And yes, you can still skip your next 2 payments. Imagine not making a mortgage payment in January or February. That's how you create real financial breathing room. If you need some cash to pay off high-interest credit cards from the holidays, a cash-out refinance might just be perfect for you. And if you prefer a line of credit, Fellowship's new fixed-rate HELOC gives you funds fast with a rate that never changes. Start the year on solid footing. I've used Fellowship personally. I trust these guys. Before the January bills hit, go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/MikeG, fellowshiphomeloans.com/MikeG, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453, fellowshiphomeloans.com/MikeG. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
The sun is shining through some high, thin clouds today, but I'd call it mostly sunny and mild. High temperature in the upper 50s. The normal high for the state's about 40 degrees, so we're way above normal and will be above normal each workday this week, although there is a chance for some rain by later in the week. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Parents want more choices rather than fewer when it comes to their children's education. And now some Missouri parents will have one more option to get their children the best education available. Low-income students and those with disabilities in Missouri's largest communities can now apply for an Empowerment Scholarship Account, or ESA. With an ESA, the money the state would normally pay to your child's public school goes into an account that you control. You can use the funds for private school tuition, online learning programs, a private tutor, or other approved uses. You can tailor your child's education. For too long, Missouri officials have operated on the mistaken notion that parents only need one choice. They're assigned public school based on their address. ESAs put parents in charge. It's school choice at its best, with money following the students to the place that best fits their needs. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. This Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capastrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Since 2003, Wounded Warrior Project has helped post 9/11 veterans adjust back to civilian life. Through specialized programs, they begin healing their bodies and minds while regaining a sense of camaraderie. Learn more at woundedwarriorproject.org/possible.
News Talk STL.
First thing in the morning and pretty much all day.
Live and local. 101.9 and 94.1. News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Monday to all of you and yours. The first Monday of 2026. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL and Common Sense Radio and the 3 Martini lunch. What, are you all tired of drinking? Too bad. Jamie Allman here in Ashland right there. We are awaiting some remarks from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, so we'll figure that out when we get there. I don't know where that is. Maybe you guys do. Is that the department? Is that the War Department? They're all wearing hard hats, so I don't know where they are. There's a big, gigantic ball underneath the flag. Probably something really obvious, and you're like, "Oh man, you're so stupid. Don't you know what that is?" Like, I don't. Aside from my blue horn, I was really doing some interesting non-essential tasks last 4 days or so. Been showing a few homes and here and there, but a long time ago, it was almost like 4 years ago, I bought a bunch of vintage cameras. Like, I bought a Kodak portable camera from 1909. It's a pop-out camera. It's really cool. And then I have a Brownie Hawkeye. I have 2 of those. One from the 30s and the other from like the 50s. And you know what you could do? You can get... So I went on this website called Film Something or Other. I don't know what it's called. But I ordered film for the cameras. Like, you can use 116 film. You could use 120. They just give you these spool adjusters. So you could actually just kind of change the spool in the camera and actually use it. You just have to have these little hacks, that you could buy on this website. I can't remember what it's called, but I ordered the 2 of them each for the Brownie Hawkeye and my other Brownie Hawkeye. So I'm going to start taking some groovy pictures. I have a Polaroid land camera that's like from the 60s. That's really cool, but you can't get film for that anywhere. I do have a 1960s Yashica. That's a 35 millimeter, so that'll always be. So I'm going to start doing that stuff, too. Like, gee, Allman, when are you going to have time to work between playing your trumpet, the piano, and being a photographer? What's wrong with you? You some kind of midlife crisis or something? No, I already had one of those. And that was back in 2004 when I left 2 jobs to go work for the Archbishop of St. Louis. So I've already been doing that. Unless you can have 2 midlife crises in one life. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm in a crisis. You know, what's interesting, I was thinking as Maduro was plucked up, and it was really very interesting, this story I wanted to share with you guys because, you know, the left, which was accusing Trump of being light on Maduro, I mean, they're so obvious now. It's so obvious they're all crazy that nobody's even paying attention to them anymore. And the minute he was plucked up, all the commies and their networks traded in their Palestinian flags for the Venezuelan flag and got out screaming and yelling. Most Americans, you don't even know who these people are because they're a network of just a bunch of commies. Of course, Mamdani, is there defending Maduro also, and that's another story. I've got some really crazy story from New York about one of his cabinet members saying that white people are going to have to adjust to new homeownership rules that they're going to install. That ought to be interesting. Anyway, so left goes crazy, and they're all making fun of or doing whatever, saying all these things and talking about imperialism and all this other nonsense that nobody believes, and nobody's listening to them, so nobody cares. Rubio is just knocking him down left and right. The one with Margaret Brennan, I'll have some of those clips for you later. But I did want to get to this story, which I thought was interesting because, George H.W. Bush snatched Noriega. And do you know what date he snatched him? We did. January 3rd. Yeah, the same day in, I think it was 1989 or whatever. I can't remember the date. You guys might do that. But it was the exact same day they grabbed Maduro. I mean, of the month and day. Same day, month and day that they grabbed Noriega. So it brought to mind a guy who I used to work with, and he really hated Trump and hated people who are conservative to the point where he was really, he would get angry, to the point where it gave him heart trouble. Charles Jaco. And Jaco, I used to work with him at a radio station. We had a show together. And then he just became a left-wing kook. He worked for Channel 2 for a while. I do have to say he was nice enough once when we were on a panel in 2012 to ask about my son Ethan, who was in Iraq. So, he's not a dark character, but he was, he's something else. So I'm not on his Twitter feed. Maybe you guys can check it and see what he's saying on X about this whole thing. But if I'm him, I'm kind of sitting this one out because when Charles Jaco came from CNN, he came to work for KMOX, the blowtorch in St. Louis. But that was a big deal because at that time, St. Louis was like, oh, somebody from CNN is working in St. Louis because, St. Louis is always so thrilled when they, because sometimes we don't have a whole lot of confidence, as a city. So some guy named Charles Jaco comes in from CNN and people do stories about it. And so I was tasked with doing the story about it by Channel 4. I was working for Channel 4 at the time. And everybody was, wait, Charles Jaco from CNN is coming to work for KMOX. Go interview him. I'm like, okay. So I decided, and this was the same Charles Jaco where there's a great video out there. You guys can look for it. During the Iraq #1 when Jaco, it's really funny. It's almost like people like think he's standing in front of like a fake palm tree or something. I don't know. But he's standing with another reporter, and they were standing there doing their live thing, and there were air raid sirens going off. And then suddenly at one point, Jaco throws on his mask, his oxygen mask, his gas mask. So, oh my God, and the guy standing there doesn't have one, and they're like, and he looked like who's the guy? The reporter who was with him looked like Artie what's his nuts from Laugh-In, because he had like this helmet. He's wearing like a helmet, so he's Artie. I know nothing. That guy who pops out of the thing, forgot his name. Artie something. You guys know. Where's Phyllis Farwig when I need her? So anyway, he's with this guy, but Jaco's standing there with his gas mask. And then, and apparently they come to the conclusion that there really isn't there's no Scud missile, or no, chemical warfare or whatever going on. And Jaco just panicked because apparently the photographer, the cameraman, was smoking a cigarette. And Jaco apparently felt like whatever was the smell of the cigarette, whatever, even though Jaco smoked, was gas. And so he panicked right there on the air. All you got to do is look it up. It's really funny. Artie Johnson. Thank you, L. Bailey. Appreciate you very Artie Johnson. You guys watch the video and you'll see. Anyway, fast forward, St. Louis is the new home of a CNN reporter, KMOX. And so, thank you, Lisa. Artie Johnson. I love that show. Laughing was such a great show. And Artie Johnson's really cool. I bet he's still alive. Anyway, so I had to go interview him because they were right upstairs. So Channel 4 was down at the Gateway Tower, and KMOX was up on the third, fourth floor, whatever. So I had to go and interview him. And I'll never forget talking to him. And one of the things he told me was that somebody who took Noriega, who he knew, he was bragging about knowing some people who seized Manuel Noriega in Panama, and gave Jaco Noriega's watch. And Jaco was wearing it. And I think it's in the story. I think I put it in the story. I can't remember. But he was like, yeah, this is Noriega's watch. And I'm thinking, well, that means it's stolen, right? I mean, that means you were receiving Noriega's stolen watch from somebody. I don't know why they would give it to him, but so he's bragging about wearing Manuel Noriega's watch. So apparently seizing Noriega was just a hey, cool thing. Now I've got Noriega's watch. But seizing Maduro, I don't know. I just don't know. I haven't checked his Twitter feed, but maybe you guys can check it and give me an update. But either way, if you do see it and you're on X and he says something crazy about Maduro, just say, hey, Charles, show us Noriega's watch. That's all you got to say. And you'll get it then. All right, quick thing here. This is so crazy. So everybody's thinking, because the news media, especially the legacy media, already died at the age of 90 in 2019. Well, at least he got to 90. That's good. At least this, 90. So the news media is kind of like some of those kids in school who are always trying to agitate or gossip and drive wedges in between friends and all those kinds of things. That's really what the legacy media has become a manifestation of. Just a bunch of gossipy, negative cliquey people who are, like mean, basically the equivalent of just a bunch of mean girls, basically. So they decide that of all the things to ask, President Trump or whatever, they decide they're going to focus on whether or not all this attention being paid to Marco Rubio is perhaps causing a rift with Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance.
Playing out, but would you say that Marco Rubio has your ear more than the vice president right now?
They both do.
Yeah, first of all, that's a terrible question. It's a dumb question because I wish President Trump said, well, yeah, he's the Secretary of State. And Marco Rubio's and J.D. Vance is the Vice President of the United States. So if I'm going to talk to anybody about the Maduro thing and about the geopolitical shift and the Don Roe doctrine and everything else, I'm going to talk to my Secretary of State first, probably. And J.D. Vance, yeah, I get around to it, whatever. But they're like, what do you think? Why are you talking to Marco Rubio and not J.D. Vance? I'm like, Marco Rubio's the Secretary of State. It's so simple.
Would you say that Marco Rubio has your ear more than the vice president right now?
No, they both do. No. And JD's very smart, doing a great job. And so is Mark. No, both.
It sounds like
I would say equal.
The go-to, and you were just talking about Cuba and what could come next there. Are you considering U.S. action?
Yeah, so anyway, she's trying to just think of, well, there must be, J.D. Vance must be really jealous. It's like, no, J.D. Vance
Signs your
is the
skin
vice
is secretly
president.
begging for Benny.
Sorry, that's an ad. J.D. Vance is the vice president of the United States, and that's pretty much it. Hey, by the way, there's Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, on the Arsenal of Freedom tour. So let's take him live, Ashley. Let's see what he has to say.
Three pillars upon which we are building our national security. It's actually quite simple. First, we're reviving the warrior ethos inside our fighting force, reminding our warriors and our uniformed military that their sole purpose is to be the most lethal fighting force on the planet. So no more DEI, no more.
Did they cut him off because he's cussing, or is it not there? Live now from Fox News.
It's just standards, accountability, readiness, training, discipline, and lethality. Back to basics across the department.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. And Jim Talent actually nailed it earlier when he was on the show, and he said that what happened with the action that took place, this daring seizure of Maduro and his wicked wife, was actually a conglomeration and a symbol of the return of the war machine and the military that Pete Hegseth and his team have said they wanted to get back to. And so, perhaps what we saw with the success of this, which is really just wildly amazing, maybe this is indeed the outgrowth of a new ethos, as Pete Hegseth has called it, in our military, and wouldn't surprise me one little bit. All right, you want to... Do you know there's a tenant director in New York City? And Mayor Mamdani has just named her, and you ought to hear what she has to say about white people and their home ownership. Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one. 2026 for New York. I didn't think it was going to be that bad, and it already is quickly. So we'll follow up on that. It's Common Sense Radio.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Gemini Wealth Group, and I got to tell you, Jeff Portman and the team are just incredible people. There is a team of about 5 of them, and they all come from different kinds of iterations as it relates to helping people in their retirement, manage their portfolios, and that kind of thing. So the Gemini Wealth Group really is a group, and that's really cool. The Gemini part is because Jeff and his twin brother are kind of in there too, so they do the Gemini thing. But anyway, this is really a true benefit to you. And when it comes to the kinds of work that they do for you, you go to see them, and believe it or not, there are some people who are like, well, I don't know, I'm getting a paycheck now, but I really don't want to give up my paycheck, even though you have a portfolio, you're ready to go, whatever. And so what they can do is look at what you have and then craft a plan that is going to advance what you have into the realm of multiple different strong investments of your portfolio. They've got a system that is different than anybody else, and it's growing retirement portfolios bigger and better than anybody else. And so they'll do that for you to the point where the goal is sometimes, well, they don't ever want you to touch the nugget of your portfolio. You can live off the dividends, that kind of thing. So they plan and they start to figure out, hey, what's your health cost going to be? What's your housing cost going to be? What about the grandkids? What are you thinking about with that? Those kinds of things they'll make sure you're ready for, and then you get your retirement permission slip. That's what they talk about. We're going to give you permission to retire because we got you covered here at the Gemini Wealth Group. The GeminiWealthGroup.com. Strong supporters of free, common sense, conservative radio. The GeminiWealthGroup.com.
When it comes to heating, cooling, and refrigeration, trust the family that's been keeping St. Peter's comfortable since 1974. Hey, it's Susie Moore, and Pranger HVAC is small enough to care, experienced enough to deliver. Got a competitor's bid? They'll beat it by 20%, guaranteed. From home HVAC to commercial refrigeration, beer caves to restaurant coolers, Pranger does it all. Licensed, insured, and 100% customer satisfaction guaranteed. Pranger HVAC. Call 314-640-9617 or find them on Facebook. That's 314-640-9617.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Allman Report. News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here with you and Ashlyn right there. Going back to New Year's Eve, just really quickly. You see some of the celebrations around the world. In Rio de Janeiro, in Brazil, did you see where? So they have the beach there. I think it's Copacabana Beach or whatever. Have you ever seen drones when they all come together and create like a statue or whatever? It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Can't remember where I saw it last. I think it was like at Disney or someplace. But out from the ocean, an image of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ came up and rose up in the air. It's the same image that you see above Rio de Janeiro, a statue, but it was Jesus rising up out of the water, and it was all made up of drones. And the Brazilian, they were just all going crazy. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, really. It's kind of amazing because it looks so real. And I still think that's incredible how they were able to do that. So it has to be like, 2,000 drones or something. But because it was gigantic and it came out of the water. Everything else, well, it looked like it was coming out of the water anyway. And people were just mesmerized on the beach. They were like looking at it going, oh, my Lord. And then I was going to put something on Facebook because I would need to edit it still. Then you go over to France, and you know what they were doing in France? The Muslim vermin was burning everything they could find. Everything they could find. Cars, they were shooting fireworks at police and firefighters and everything else. That was France on New Year's Eve. And when you compare that to Rio de Janeiro, you know damn well what the difference is. It's really super easy to see. Every single European place that's been overrun by migrants had fires, and there was one video of a woman who was going down the street in Germany trying to prove that migrants were not going to hurt her. It was a white woman, you know. And she got hit with cans and bottles and slapped and everything else. She tried to do this live stream, and all you did was watch her get pummeled by a bunch of Muslim vermin migrants on the street in Germany. So, you know exactly what the difference is between Brazil and a place like France and Germany, and other South American countries are very, very similar to that. And even there are some countries still in Europe, like Denmark, and who are different, because you didn't see anything burning in Denmark, and there's a reason for that. So you know what the difference is, and it's provable when you saw what happens on New Year's Eve. So that's how that works. All right. So meanwhile, of course, the usual suspects here. In case you guys didn't know, I don't know whether you knew, and I know Tim Walz is not running again and everything else, and this whole Somali thing. But do you understand like how bad this is? So, and I say Mamdani because there are a lot of people in New York, especially those who were running around with Palestinian flags and supporting Hamas, who are the children of people who migrated here, sometimes illegally, sometimes as refugees, sometimes as green card holders. But if you look at the pattern of some of these cultures and things like that, it's their children that actually are the worst ones. So the people who came here like 20 years ago, kind of as just, the American largesse, and the Somalians came here 20 years ago or so, 25 years ago or so. And the problem is they come over here, they have a bunch of babies. They never assimilate. They do not assimilate to other cultures at all. They do not. They don't marry other cultures, and they don't like other cultures, and they think they're above other cultures. They never assimilate. They only speak English enough to be able to take advantage of other people, and they have a birth rate that is through the roof. That's what they have. So, it's the equivalent of running around peeing on trees. That's what they do. And so these migrant communities, so that's why you're seeing a lot of these people, even on Twitter. I mean, look at the last names of all the people barking about the capture of Maduro, or look at the last names of the people who are really far left individuals and those kinds of things, and you'll know. And that's not me being a white supremacist or whatever, ethnocentric American. We know what's going on. So the offspring of many of these people are the ones who really do wind up causing the most trouble around here. Mamdani is a great example of that. The Uganda trust fund baby. We know what that is all about. So Mamdani is crazy. But, he did hire a tenant director. His name is Sia Weaver. And she decided to go on X and declare how she is going to approach the treatment of property ownership in New York. Listen to this.
I think the reality is that for centuries we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good. and we are going to transitioning to treating it as a collective good and towards a model of shared equity will require that we think about it differently. And it will mean that families, especially white families, but some POC families who are homeowners as well, are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have.
Yeah, Well, we'll see. We'll see how that works out for you, Chicky Poo. So basically what she's saying is they're going to basically say that white people are going to somehow be divided from the property that they own and be required to somehow create a collectivist aspect of their property ownership, basically seizing white people's property. That just came out of her mouth, right? I mean, that's not AI or anything like that. But she actually believes that white homeownership is actually a symbol of white supremacy. That's what she believes. And she's the director of tenant relations or whatever for Mamdani. So anyway, it didn't go over very well, as you can imagine. Unfortunately for a lot of these spoiled, rotten brat commie Marxists, they only talk to themselves. So oftentimes they don't really have another opinion in their sphere. And so when they venture out on X after being elevated to a position of power, whatever, they suddenly start talking, and then people start reacting. And so within about 12 hours of Sia Weaver declaring that white homeownership is white supremacy and white families are going to have to get used to another definition of what property is, Sia Weaver had to delete her X account. That's how bad it got for her, is she had to delete her X account. Now, keep in mind that we've seen this happen before. We saw what happened when the cloistered marketing manager of Bud Light started running her mouth in a public sphere, and we saw what happened there. So a lot of times these people wind up kind of fumigating themselves, so they basically deport themselves from X and from certain kinds of jobs, and that was really a bad one. But that's not, again, you saw what his speech was about on the loveliness of collectivism, and the only problem, well, among many, that these people are going to have is that I don't think they've ever really physically tried to extract or divide anybody from their house. And so, unless these guys want a civil war or whatever it happens to be, all of their visions for things will never happen. And if they try them, they will learn very quickly how that would never happen. It's kind of like people worry about Sharia law. It's like, well, yeah, I guess if you have Sharia law, but like nobody is ever going to, let's say there is Sharia law, there's not anybody on earth who's going to arrest me for violating Sharia law. Like there's nobody's going to do it. It would never happen. And they would find out very quickly what it's like to try and get people to live and obey laws other than those associated with our Constitution in America. So, yeah, I mean, I've seen people complain, oh, they're headed towards Sharia law. Well, maybe they have Sharia law in their own communities, and then they could just behead each other, and who cares, right? I mean, at that point, they're just basically imprisoning and offing each other. But it's never going to happen to you or me. I'm not like, oh, you violated Sharia law. I'm like, yeah, come and get it, seriously. So that would never happen. So that's not really realistic. So a lot of things that these individuals are going to discover soon enough. They're discovering kind of in a micro way what Maduro is discovering in a larger way, and that is UFA, UFO. That's what happens. And President Trump is really good at meting out that form of law. So the Sunday snoozer shows, man, where is this new president of CBS when it comes to Margaret Brennan? My goodness, Barry Weiss, you have a lot more work to do, my dear. Some people ask, hey, how come Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance and these guys even go on these shows? You know why? Because it's fun to humiliate these anchors. I think that people like Marco Rubio and others enjoy doing this because it's really like shooting fish in a barrel. It's crazy. I'll give you some very fun examples of that on the other side of this. It's Common Sense Radio, the 3 Martini Lunch. Happy New Year.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, Buckingham Pest Control, and I got to tell you, one of my favorite guys on the planet is Noel Buckingham. He's been a friend of mine for a long time, supported another radio show that I had, and really appreciate all that he has done. And he's back with the Allman Report and the 3 Martini Lunch and Common Sense Radio. Here is the deal. This is really cool. It's a brand new frontier in all of the world of insulation. So you're thinking, wait, Allman, I thought you were talking about pest control. I am. Pest control installation. How does that sound? So you've got this really cool insulation that is installed by my friends at Buckingham Pest Control and Noel and his team that you're also going to get a Spire rebate for, by the way. It's called tap insulation. So you've got the thermally superior to all the rest, acoustically superior to all the rest, and a pest control component that keeps the pests out of your attic where a lot of pest problems begin. So, and if something gets in, they don't last long. So the bottom line is this is a exclusive proprietary type of pest treatment within insulation that is great and beneficial to you 3 different ways, from the pest control to the keeping your house acoustically perfect as well as thermally perfect when it comes to heating and cooling. And it's easily installed, quickly installed, if you want to go ahead and get some in before we get into wily winter, if we're going to have one. And also, as we're getting into springtime, and I did notice something. I was at the monastery yesterday. I put a post up on the thing. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But anyway, the spring is not far away. It really, honestly, is not. It's closer than you think. And so you need to start planning for your pest treatments outside and inside for all the critters, whether they be mosquitoes or spiders. So check it out. BuckinghamPestControl.com. That's BuckinghamPestControl.com.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
Today's story behind the story, the Memphis Belle. The courage of all those young men and those bombers.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Make up your mind. Decide to walk with me around the lake tonight.
Don't do it.
Around the lake.
Don't walk around the lake with that guy. Good old 1994, huh? Early 90s grunge, you know. And a lot of songs about dudes like walking their girlfriends around lakes or behind the boathouse, or I'm like, yeah, girls, do not go with that guy. What are you guys doing? Yeah. How would you react if some guy's like, come on, let's go back behind the boathouse. I'll show you my dark secrets. I'm like, that's not going to happen. You're going to get back on your skateboard and go home. That's what you're going to do. Oh, this is still got a good song, though. This song called Possum Kingdom, everybody. So, you guys, thank you. You know, I noticed something really interesting about you guys, and I love it. It's really, I think it says a lot about your sensibilities and the kinds of people that you are. And, you know, I could put something up, you know, about back in the day about Joe Biden or Tim Walz or some meme about Maduro or whatever. And I definitely am not like a clickbait monger, you know. I don't really post a whole lot, but if I think it's important enough, I do. And oftentimes it's something personal. But even if I like did I guess something on Maduro. So yeah, maybe you get like, 150 likes on it, maybe a few comments here and there, whatever. But man, every time I put something up that is of a personal nature and certainly something that is tied somehow to religion or whatever, you guys just love it, which I'm glad. I mean, and again, I'm not one of those people like I need I don't put it up there for that reason. Sometimes I put it up there because I feel like I can be a vessel for good feelings about something, you know? So I did want to go ahead and put that video up on New Year's Eve, even though I told you on New Year's Eve that the fire department came to my mom's house one time when I was cooking for her on New Year's Eve. I totally got that wrong. I was cooking for her on her 92nd birthday. For some reason, I thought it was New Year's Eve because I made her dinner on New Year's Eve before. And we were doing something and it caused a little fire, and the Webster Groves Fire Department came over. And I did make a video of that, and that wasn't the only thing. So I made her German chocolate cake that she loved. And I was making the icing, and I didn't have any milk to thicken the icing. So I used mayonnaise. And so we did all that after the fire department came, and we all did that. We were sitting down, and you guys look at the video. It's on from New Year's Eve. And I said, hey, I ran out of milk. It was while she was eating the cake. And I ran out of milk, so you know what I used? And she said, almond milk? I go, no, mayonnaise. And she like looked at me and just kept chewing. And I said, well, at least it wasn't mustard. And she kind of laughed a little bit. And then I said, don't be thinking about mayonnaise now. Just keep eating it. and pretend that, and it tasted pretty good. Mayonnaise does work. I mean, sometimes they could, stick it in. I told my mom, I explained when we had the fire department come, I said, hey, listen, sometimes throwing down gets the fire department coming your way, So sometimes it's worth it. Anyway, so yesterday I was in between some home showings, and for these wonderful people that I'm working with, and so we had some problems with whatever. I had some downtime. So I went by the Carmelite Monastery, which is on off of Clayton Road in Ladue, kind of Clayton, whatever. A beautiful place. If you ever get a chance to get there, it's open all the time. And sometimes they do have masses there because it's the Carmelite nuns. And sometimes they do have regular masses there, but I don't go to mass there. But I go there to pray and just to sit there. And it's beautiful. It's gorgeous, and it's a really great place. There's hardly anybody there usually. There's a few select people in there, and it was all decorated for Christmas. It's about 4:30, 4:25, somewhere in that vicinity. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm praying, and I'm contemplating and doing things. And, man, the sun, which I did not see most of the day that I recall, the sun, as it was setting, was shining right into this stained glass window, and this beam of light went right to the statue of Jesus Christ. And I was like, wow, that is amazing. Because, tell you the truth, we all think that. I was praying and everything else, and suddenly this light comes in, and you're thinking, oh, man, God's listening to me. Or the bells ring after you say a prayer, and like, oh, maybe that's a sign that he heard it anyway. And of course, tomorrow is the actual Feast of the Epiphany, the Three Kings coming, and so that's going to be beautiful. So that was another kind of sign or signal that the season is really just beginning. The follow the Magi at all times, right? Anyway, I did mention something about how the sun was setting, because at 4:30, like a month ago or 3 weeks ago, it was dark. So I think what happened is last week there was some kind of bizernal equinox. I don't know what it was, but that meant basically that summer is right around the corner. So the fact that the sun was in that position was kind of God's reminder of there's hope. Winter's almost over. Spring is on the way. Soon it will be daylight still at 6 and everything else. And so I don't know. It's just I always get all sentimental about this stuff, sometimes. But anyway, I put that up on the Facebook, and like 600, 700 people liked it. I'm like, I mean, wow. And it's funny because what it says to me a lot with people is that that really things that touch them the most might not be a snarky little Maduro post, but something related to something that they can immediately relate to. And of course, it's God or your mom or your kids or wife, husband, whatever. People can relate to that, something personal. And so I just noticed that and wanted to tell you that story, and also remind you that tomorrow is the time to you can take the Christmas decorations down. You can take them down anytime, but there was some guy, a friend of mine, it was like the 27th or 28th, and he did like a post like, what do you do with your Christmas tree? When do you take it? And he goes, I'm thinking of getting rid of it. I go, you can't. It's Christmas just started. Like Christmas started on Christmas Day. So, and basically ends not on the 6th, though, really. I think it goes a couple more days after that if you really want to be particular about it. But anyway. All right. Man, Marco Rubio was just so good. Margaret Brennan, I don't know whether you've seen the Facebook post of her many faces. She like really wigs out when she's interviewing people associated with the Trump administration or with any kind of Republican. And this is Rubio. I mean, and he's this is such a dumb question, but he goes on here because, and some people will say, how come these guys always subject themselves to this? Because it's fun, because their IQs are 100 times higher than the anchors, and so it's their chance to publicly humiliate them, even though they don't know they're being humiliated.
He's still in place. The defense minister, who has deep ties to Russia, $15 million price on his head, he is still in place. I'm confused. Are they still wanted by the United States? Why didn't you arrest them if you are taking out the narco-terrorist regime?
You're confused?
So I'll get to his full answer, though. We talked to Jim Talent earlier, and actually the goal was not to take out the narco-terrorist regime. The goal was to cut the head off the snake of the narco-terrorist regime and get even a person I consider more important and more demonic than Maduro, and that is his wife, who basically ran the show. And that's not unusual in these kinds of crazy dictatorships. There's the wife is always, you remember in Romania, Ceausescu and his wife, oh lordy. But anyway, so that wasn't the goal here. But then technically, Rubio's like, first of all, how do you envision us grabbing 5 different people?
I don't know why that's confusing to you.
They're still in
power. It's very simple. You're not going to go in and wrap up. But you can't go. You're going to go in and suck up 5 people. They're already complaining about this one operation. Imagine the howls we would have from everybody else if we actually had to go and stay there 4 days.
And Rubio's having fun doing this because you can tell by the look on his face that she's almost doing everything he hoped that she would do, and that is make a complete idiot of herself regarding snatching up these 5 different people.
To capture 4 other people. We got the top priority. The number one person on the list was the guy who claimed to be the president of the country that he was not, and he was arrested along with his wife, who was also indicted. And that was a pretty sophisticated and frankly complicated operation.
It was.
It is not easy to land helicopters in the middle of the largest military base in the country. The guy lived on a military base. Land within 3 minutes, kick down his door, grab him, put him in handcuffs, read him his rights, put him in a helicopter, and leave the country without losing any American or any American assets. That's not an easy mission. And you're asking me, why didn't we do that in 5 other places at the same time? I mean, that's absurd.
Idiot.
I do think this is one of the most, daring, complicated, sophisticated missions this country has carried out in a very long time. Tremendous credit to the U.S. military personnel who did it. It was unbelievable. And tremendous success. And today, an indicted drug trafficker who was not the legitimate president of Venezuela, who we don't recognize, the Biden administration didn't recognize, 60-something countries don't recognize.
Okay, you get it. So basically, Marco Rubio's talking to the dog staring into the Victrola cone. And just kind of, what? I don't understand. It's like that. And he had fun doing it, and it's why it's so entertaining when these guys go on. I think Rubio's even better. I'm not making any statements here, people. So don't think. I'm just saying when it comes to rhetorical jousting, Rubio's probably better than anybody currently in the administration right now. He's really good at this, and it's been fun watching him this whole time. And keeping that regime there, these people, as I told Jim Talent, they're on a landmine that only blows up when they step off of it. They've got guns trained on them right now. They will behave. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Ashland, thank you so much. Tony Colombo, Colombo Company, straight ahead.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and